What have you gone numb to in order to keep functioning? Welcome to the Man in Motion podcast, episode number 4, Without Noticing. I'm Bob. This is a show about what it means to be a man in today's world, navigating real life with strength, purpose, and clarity. We talk growth, responsibility, and the ongoing work of becoming without losing the core of who we are. This is about hype, hacks, or fixing yourself. It's about awareness. It's about grounded thinking and choosing direction while you're already in motion. No excuses. Ever forward. So first off, I want to thank everyone that's been listening. I've been getting some great feedback, and I definitely have some exciting ideas from your feedback for upcoming podcasts. The one overwhelming question I've been getting, though, is where the hell are you in all this? Because the people that know me know that I am usually more forward. The information in episodes 1, 2, and 3 was very important to what we're going to continue on with here. And I think it's really the starting point for every man that really wants to pursue this. And I think those questions we asked are so important that you didn't need the distraction of me in there. And we're going to occasionally have episodes and episode arcs, which that was 3-episode arc right there, but where I'm going to step back, where there's not going to be a lot of me. And that's okay. This isn't about me. This is about you and your growth and becoming what you can be, what you want to be, living that life. It's not about me. So you don't always need me there. Sometimes I'm just going to show you the path and say, there it is. And I'm going to step the hell out the way and let you get to work. So with all that being said, our topic today is about that autopilot and how it becomes so automatic. Just becomes our default. See, men, we have this tendency to ignore our physical influences, and we focus on what we know in our head, our responsibilities, our duties, the things that we got to do. We, quote unquote, have to do this. So we miss the early warning signs, and we only react to things once they get to a level where we have to blow up. I don't know why I snapped. Bullshit. Your body has been giving you this feedback for days, weeks, possibly months, and you've ignored it. And this isn't an accusation. I do it too. We're aware that we do this. You're gonna feel it in your body before your head catches onto it. Your mind is going to be reacting to what's building in you. You're breathing shallow and fast. Your jaw stays clenched for days. You'll wake up and your jaw will ache because it's been clenched for so long. Or your shoulders will be tight, or you'll wake up tired. This isn't crisis. It's about functioning every day under load. And the thing is, just because you notice something doesn't mean you have to fix it. But the opposite's also true. You can't change what you don't notice. And this is where we fall down with this stuff, because see, we don't look because we don't want to have to fix it, but we actually can notice things without having to do anything about it. Like, we're allowed to do that. If you need permission, I'm giving you permission right now. You can go ahead and you can notice things and just accept that they are without having to change it. So this autopilot that shows up, it's actually in and of itself an adaptation. When we're younger, we start out and we're super aware, we're super in the moment, we're super present, and everything is about right now when you're little, right? All the playing and the running around and your days feel like they take 3 weeks to get from breakfast to dinner. And as we age, our responsibilities increase. As our responsibilities increase, the pressure and the expectation build on us. And so, what do we do with that? Well, like anything else, we adapt to it. But most times, those adaptations, they cost us, and we don't realize it. And it gets to the point where these adaptations start stockpiling. And it's like I said in the other episode, it's death by 1,000 little cuts. It's not any one thing. It's not, we can point to any one single thing where it's like, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not like that. There are 1,000 little things, but each one of them, in adapting to it, is causing us to lose a little bit of that awareness, a little bit of that presence. So over time, our performance becomes more and more unconscious. And it's not to say that this is weakness. This is not weakness. You're not broken. It's adaptation at work. It's partially how we're built. There's a lot of biology in this. And it describes most of us. Most men listening to this, if you're nodding your head going, holy shit, yeah, you're here. You're functional. You're responsible. You're doing the things that you need to do. And hell, most of the people around you probably think you're a pretty good dude. You're not broken. But you're not living the life that you want to live. Trust me, I know this. I live this. Let me jump back here because I said this in episode 0 that I'm not a guru. I don't have all this figured out. 9 times out of 10, when I'm coming to you with an episode, that episode's based on something that just happened in my life. Like I'm there. I'm living this with you. This is as much me documenting my own journey as it is helping you. It's just what I'm called to do right now. So I'm doing it. I've watched The Alternative too many times, and men just lose themselves. And life just becomes this grind. And if no one's ever said this to you, you deserve better than living just for the grind. So we talked about this autopilot and how it just grinds away at our awareness. So then what happens? Eventually something comes along and we explode. Right? You spent weeks and you're tense and your shoulders are tight and you're aggravated and you're irritated and you're not in the moment. And then something happens. And it's usually something small. But the dam breaks. What is that? What is it when that dam breaks like that? That's something pushing through your autopilot. That is something that you can't ignore, that you either don't have the bandwidth to deal with, you don't have the capacity, or it's not something you've ever encountered before, and you're just like, what do I do with this? And it's just, everything's just, you just want to burn the world to cinder and watch it as it collapses. And because there's so much, and you've been dealing with it unconsciously. It's not in your active awareness that you're dealing with this. It's part of that autopilot that's been handling it for you. So one of the things this autopilot does to us when it's working is that it narrows your focus. We tend to ignore anything that's outside of what we need or what we got to get done or what we got to do. Anything that slows us down gets muted. And eventually it gets to a point where we start pushing that awareness aside because it's not helpful. It's not efficient. I love that. It's not efficient. So what does that get us? Well, the trade-off is that, we stay operational. The things that that interrupt us, that cause those breakdowns, are less and less common because we're pushing that stuff aside. And honestly, it means life keeps rolling along. That movement continues. We talked about that idea that movement isn't progress. Sometimes movement is avoidance. And this is a perfect example of that right there, where life just keeps moving when you're on that autopilot. You're not paying attention to the stuff. And from the outside, everything looks great. Everything's, you're showing up. There's no overt issues to take care of. There's nothing to handle. There's nothing to worry about. Everything looks like it's swell, but you're not present. You're not there. You're not actually living it. You're just going through the grind. And then eventually your internal compass starts losing true north. You've adapted, and your adaptions have adapted, and the nose have adapted. And you're so far down the rabbit hole that you don't even realize where you are. And sometimes you struggle to figure out, who the hell am I? And in survival becomes the measure of success. I'm living, I'm paying my bills, I got a roof over my head, my kids go to the right school, my wife drives the right car. Whatever it is, whatever that metric is, whatever has you chasing that becomes the metric, becomes, oh, I'm successful. But are you? Are you a part of your life? Are you choosing your life? In this process, yeah, it helps you function. And it doesn't mean you're weak. But you got to ask, am I choosing this? Am I choosing this, or am I just, is it here and it's something for me to do? So, this question that I'm going to ask you now, it's one I've asked myself a lot. And it's simply this. Why is it so hard for our awareness to come back? Once all the pressure and the numbness are in place, and it's in a constant state, why don't we get our awareness back? Why don't we become present into the moment? It comes down to efficiency, I think. I really do. Because numbness, it works. We live in a society where whatever keeps us moving is rewarded, right? And survival beats everything. Sensitivity, it beats presence, it beats, at least at a societal level, it becomes about what you can do and who you are to those around you. And that awareness is almost seen as an interruption. Because if you're feeling things, if you're actually dealing with your emotions, if you're looking at what's going on around you and the things that you're feeling, that's less energy you have to just produce. It's going to bring discomfort, because now you're looking at it and you're realizing, crap, what have I done? Execution, you start questioning. Things get messier. When you're under a load and you're just running on that autopilot, man, the system just, it prioritizes output, and that system just takes over for you. But when you have to stop and consciously choose, is this what I want? Is this where I want to be? Am I running with my values? Am I choosing my goals? There's an extra step in there, and that can introduce a lot of resistance, because you realize this isn't what I want. This isn't where I want to be. This isn't the thing I want to be doing. And that's going to disrupt a lot. And, this whole idea that we have in our head. Um, Evolution rewards smooth operation. It rewards function. That numbness enhances your effectiveness. Not in a good way, but in a effective production sort of way. And realistically, we're creatures built around systems. We love systems. And anything that's going to disrupt that tends to get shut down. So then going back to that example we started with of, man, I don't know why I blew up. What happens there? Well, we wake up because something has changed. Something that's not part of our system. Something that is just, it falls outside of our ability to cope within the system. And that outburst is just our body's attempt to vent some of that pressure. Because it wants to go back to that numb state. It wants to be everything flattened out. It wants nothing breaking the pattern. It wants that load to stay constant. It doesn't want it to increase. It still wants you to perform, but it doesn't reward you being present in it. So the end result is that the load stays. You're still performing. You're not hiding. You're not pretending. You're not ignoring. This is the system that we create around ourselves, and we all do it. This is the system doing its job. So how do we become present back into our lives? So this awareness, this presence, as much as we would like it to be, it's not something that you're going to hold on to. It's not something that most times is going to be ever present. You can eventually get there. That's what you see a lot of these yogi masters and stuff. Not to get all metaphysical and stuff, but when you see people like that are quote unquote enlightened or they found the way or what have you, this is the way. Um, that's they're living present most of the time. They're in touch with themselves. They're in touch with the world around them and their universe. And they've managed to get to a point where, even for them, most of the time, they're present. They're aware. They're not caught in a system. Most of the time, especially once you start working on this, most of the time, you're going to get caught up and you're going to be halfway down the rabbit hole. And then you're going to realize, oh man, I'm doing it again. And that's when you'll start trying to break yourself out of that. You'll start trying to bring yourself out of that state. And you know what I'm talking about with the rabbit hole. You'll have that day where just you're tense, your jaw aches from clenching, your shoulders hurt, everything's going wrong, you're frustrated, and something will happen and you'll start. Me, I still catch myself where I'm hours down that rabbit hole, but I catch myself. And I realize what I'm doing. See, that awareness, it shows up midstream. I recognize the pattern I'm in. I recognize that I'm venting, and I bring myself back to the moment. And I tell myself, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. And I step out of that autopilot. Now, don't get me wrong, the pressures are still there. The expectation, the bills, the kids, the wife, everything, it's all still there. But what I'm able to do is, with all of that still resting on me, realign myself with my values, with my thoughts, my beliefs, and stop letting the world around me make those choices for me. And over time, it gets easier. I have a much simpler time doing it now than I did. Before it would take me days to recognize where I was and to bring myself back to who I am and who I choose to be. But now I've been practicing it for a while, a couple years now, and it'll be minutes or hours rather than days or weeks. I catch it sooner. And then as I get there, I realize I'm able to stay there longer. And the autopilot, I don't want to say I get rid of it because it's still there handling some of the tasks for me, but it's handling the tasks that I'm choosing to let it handle. It's not me just letting it take over everything and not feeling and not being present. But I then get to choose how I show up. I'm not just physically showing up and being emotionally unavailable. I'm able to show up and be who I am. I'm able to show up and be a part of things. I'm able to show up and actually live. And that's something a lot of us miss. I see a fair number of men who their version of living, and the only time they get to that, it involves alcohol, it'll involve narcotics, whatever. And if that's you, I'm not speaking badly, I'm not talking down about you. But what if you could get to that state? And I'm not saying messed up or drunk or high but what if you could get to that state of peace that those things bring you to? Without those substances, without the downsides, the hangovers and the burnout and the physical toll. What if you could do that? What if you could get to that peace without those things? Think about that. Really think about that. So what if we change the metric now? The metric stops being about productivity. What if the metric is now how much time we're aware and we're choosing? What if the metric becomes how much time we're able to maintain our own peace? Because that's what I'm proposing to you. That what matters isn't about always being aware. It's about coming back to being aware. It's about being able to recognize when you're leaving that behind and sacrificing the things that are actually important to you for this autopilot. The true skill in this is not bringing yourself aware, because I think most of us without even knowing it can do it. The true skill is in recognizing it. The true skill is in how quickly we can come back to it when we've slipped away to a place that we don't want to be. Like anything else, this is a skill and it's learnable and you can practice it. So here's a tool I want to give you. I want you to pick one of your senses. And for this example, I'm going to use the sense of touch. But you can use any of the 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. But for the example, we're going to use touch. I want you to take your hands and I want you to place your fingertips on your knees. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to focus your attention on where your fingertips touch your knees. I want you to focus on that sensation. What do you feel? Do you feel the hardness of your kneecaps? Maybe the slight motion of your skin as you rolls from your fingertips pushing on it? Maybe a little bit of warmth from your skin touching your skin. What if it was as simple as that? Because what you did right there is you focused on what was. What is real, not what could be, not what should be, not what was, not what happened last week. You were focusing on where you were right then and right there. You redirected your attention away from my voice, away from whatever thoughts were running around in the back of your head. And most importantly, you took control away from the autopilot. And this is where it begins. You can come back to now. Right then, did you fix anything? No. Paying attention to your fingertips touching your knees didn't change anything. Does it mean you have to run away? No. Does it mean you have to burn the world to the ground around you because something's different? No. Nothing noticeably changed except for where your attention was. All your responsibilities are still there. But you chose to be where you are, to be in that moment, to be paying attention to what you were actually feeling. And that's as simple as that. That's where it starts. And that's the great thing about this tool, is that you can do this anytime, any place, under any stress, under any load, with any sense that you have available. Maybe you're wearing thick gloves and you can't feel your kneecaps through your gloves. So then you focus on sight. You look at something. You look at the color of something around you. You notice it. You notice the texture and the visual cues to it. Or maybe you're sitting in a dark room, but you can hear the refrigerator running, that constant low hum. Or, maybe your neighbor's baking cookies and you can smell them. Anything, any of your senses. Any of your senses can be brought online to bring you to now. So what do we do with that? Because now the autopilot's paused, right? It's not trying to deal with yesterday. It's not trying to plan for tomorrow. And you're no longer reacting. You're no longer following that script. You're no longer following those set instructions. Now you have a moment of agency, a moment where you can do whatever you choose to. And honestly, most of us probably already do this to some extent. We really do. And we don't realize that we're doing it. But now that you're aware of it, it becomes a tool that you can control. So here's my challenge to you. I want you to try to do that about 3 times a day. And the goal is not to spend hours in that state where you're present, where you're focused on whatever your senses are. When you start, if you even think about it 3 times in a day, that's a success. Man, I should really do that exercise. That's a success right there. It's not. That's not a failure. That's not oh man, I didn't do it. You thought about it. It's in your head, and it's the start of a pattern. And eventually, maybe in a day or two, you know what? Let me give this a try. And eventually, you'll get to the point where it becomes a thing. It actually becomes a thing that you do. And here's the trick. Here's the real test. The first time you start spiraling on something, that valve is set to release pressure, and you go down that rabbit hole, and you're angry, and you're just, the world around you is getting ready to just burn at your will. And then you recognize, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? The first time you use this tool, then, I make you a promise that it will be life-changing. It will change your life. I have no doubts. And then once that happens, that's the first step. And then the next time it'll come along. And maybe you'll catch it a little bit earlier. Or maybe once you catch it, you'll get it under control a little quicker. Or you'll stay present a little bit longer. But the thing to remember is this: falling out of that state of falling back into what it was is not a failure. It's expected. This is not easy. This is hard. People have been doing this for thousands of years, trying to live a life like this. So what matters then? Practice. Practicing this matters. Messy practice is still practice. Doesn't require ideal conditions. You don't need to be in a perfectly quiet room sitting in lotus position with new age music and incense. No. This isn't about that. It's about taking a moment to come back to where you are, to right now. Recognizing that whatever you're thinking about, whether it's from yesterday or tomorrow, isn't right now. And because you're not paying attention to right now, you're missing out. Because like I told you before, the only thing you can control is right now. You can't change the past. You can't change the future. All of your power is right now. So what do we do with this? Because this ability is yours already. I can already hear someone asking me the question of, or making the comment, oh man, I screwed up and I went down the rabbit hole and I didn't catch it for 3 hours or 3 days or whatever. Here's the thing. Noticing isn't proof that you screwed up. You can't screw this up because you're practicing, you're learning. The fact that you noticed is a victory, is success. That should be part of your new metric. Oh, I'm learning this now. I'm figuring this out. I can do this. And it becomes a point of data. So that next time maybe you will get it a little sooner. This idea that we have to do everything perfectly immediately is ridiculous, right? Like, you guys know that. And we place shame on ourselves for things that we should just take responsibility for. And those two, they're not intrinsically linked. Shame and responsibility are not linked. They're not the same thing. And we confuse the two far too much. Far too much. So take responsibility for yourself on this. Leave the shame behind. Take the responsibility. No one can do this for you. Ready or not, it's yours. You know, one other thing I want to clear up. This isn't a tool that's going to take all the pressures and stresses and things away. It's not mystically going to make your responsibilities go away. It's not going to make your mortgage automatically paid. And that numbness, it's going to stick around sometimes. Even with the awareness, that numbness is going to stick around. But it becomes an active choice. And like anything else, as we use that choice, that choice is going to build capacity. And that responsibility that we're taking, it's no longer going to be forced. And your participation, it's going to be unconscious instead of that white knuckle grip. So it starts now. Wherever you are and whatever you are enough. This moment where you choose to take control is the lever. No beating yourself up. Perfection is not required nor expected. Messy is fine. But stay in the work. Well, my brothers and sisters, that's it for today. Keep what's useful. It's yours to carry. Leave what you've outgrown. Choose and keep choosing. Ever forward.